What's up guys, Kevin Cage here with another cryptocurrency update. In today's video, we're going to dive into HBAR, XRP, DAG, and Casper, so stick around for all of this one and let's kick it off. First things first, we heard the big news of Michael Jordan having NFTs that will be launching on the XRP ledger. This is going to get a bunch of publicity. Remember that last year in September, Ripple the company launched a $250 million creator fund, $250 million to foster innovation and tokenization, enabling creators along with their partners to kickstart their participation in the NFT era. It's great to see every single project doing this, bringing more developers, bringing more attention, bringing more adoption of companies to leverage NFTs. And speaking of this $250 million creator fund to foster this innovation and tokenization, I also saw that HBAR, the foundation, also launched and committed $250 million to drawing more attention to bring metaverse applications to Hedera's network. The announcement follows a $155 million DeFi fund launched at the end of March. So now that we have HBAR staking officially live, I do fully expect to see an HBAR listing on Coinbase. And we'll talk about the price in the HBAR price chart too. So we have the VP at HBAR Foundation in quotes saying, I see 2021 as the year of NFTs, okay? And absolutely, we saw the bubble, we saw the rise, we saw the interest, and then 2022 as the year of their enterprise applications. So they're going to be targeting a bunch of new users and bring more users into Web3 in this entire ecosystem, focusing on gaming and virtual worlds. Now remember, the metaverse is projected to reach an $8 to $13 trillion market cap. Crypto today alone is just around $2 trillion. So if the metaverse is 8 to 13 trillion, the global stock market is close to $100 trillion. Do you think that the cryptocurrency market can at least 5x and 10x from here in the years ahead? Absolutely. The focus is on enterprise NFTs for Hedera. Now, friendly reminder, Kevin O'Leary is involved with Hedera, and of course with Jordan Freed, the founder of NFT.com. Remember, Ethereum's here to stay, in my opinion. It is the dominance, really, father of DeFi, of what we know and love today with lending applications, with all types of apps. But Hedera is significantly more scalable. The idea is to decentralize it over time, because right now it is one of the first enterprise DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations. It starts centralized, just like every single project that starts, and then you want to distribute it, distribute that liquidity, get tokens in other people's hands and enterprise users so that they are incentivized to use the token and leverage the network. So it's a top-down approach, just like the XRP ledger. So what do I mean by that? Well, for example, David Schwartz has covered this a few times before, CTO of Ripple. So with Bitcoin, and I'm grateful for everything it's done for this crypto space, Bitcoin is the reason that crypto exists, so I'm grateful for it. But it had a bottom-to-top approach. It started off in the hands of people, decentralized, and they are trying to basically work their way up to adoption, meaning they want it to be used by companies, to banks, to universities, working all the way up. Whereas HBAR, XRP, a few other assets, they start off relatively centralized, but then distribute this. And they're already working with the big players, working with large enterprises. Those enterprises begin building applications, and then those applications are used by us retailers. So it's the exact opposite approach. Just like the internet was founded, of course, the internet was similar to XRP and HBAR, meaning that it was primarily founded by a few universities, relatively centralized, but then it slowly gets more distributed. Then, of course, some companies start paying attention to different applications you can build on the internet. Maybe, using simple things like Office 360. Then companies started using it because it provided so much efficiency in the workplace. And then after that, it started going all the way down to retail use cases. Now, all of us have phones, all of us are using different applications, but it had a top-down distribution model in terms of adoption. So there are approximately 39 companies on Hedera's governing council already, including Ubisoft, one of the world's biggest gaming companies. So Ubisoft is just one single example that is on Hedera's governing council with millions of users. And now, if Hedera properly incentivizes Ubisoft to leverage Hedera's network, building applications, and then getting the users to use said applications, which still requires HBAR to some degree, it's great for the adoption. And then, of course, HBAR slowly becomes more and more decentralized, and even more companies begin building. Retailers can start using it. They can start building their own retail apps. The possibilities are limitless. And that is just a single example in the gaming space. Talking about metaverse, in-game items. Then we can take it to, payment use cases or central bank digital currencies. It gets crazy. And everybody's free to go gamble in meme coins. But the thing is, I'm investing in future utility with assets that I believe have compliance and are here to stay, including most of the ISO tokens, XLM, XRP, HBAR, Algo, and every other asset that seems to be legitimate with real backing. Of course, Hedera alone with Boeing, Google, IBM, LG, massive groups, Tata, one of the biggest in the world. And of course, they have DBS, one of the largest banks in Southeast Asia in Singapore. They have XRP traded right now alongside, I believe, Litecoin, BTC, ETH, the typical OGs. But of course, I believe that HBAR will be listed there shortly. And I don't like waiting just as much as the next guy. But again, I have very little doubt because of the hundreds of millions of dollars. We have $250 million for XRP and HBAR behind these networks. And that is just one small example. So I believe that these assets will survive. And when the crypto market cap is orders of magnitude higher in the years ahead, we're going to see much higher prices. Next up, shared by XRP World 589, discussing the energy consumption kilowatt hours per transaction. Of course, the XRP ledger is levels ahead of most of these other businesses, including Visa, MasterCard, Libra, which is still centralized. It has counterparty risk. It is not true decentralized blockchain technology, just like JPM coin, again, versus some fiat, and then some of the OGs, Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash. And keep in mind, there's other assets that are not listed here, such as, XDC, XLM, Algo, HBAR. A variety of assets are significantly more efficient than Bitcoin. And those are the assets I'm paying attention to. Remember, the UK is another place that has already declared XRP to not be a security, and there's been a lot of big things going on in the UK, making it a financial hub for crypto assets. As we can see, a global hub for crypto asset technology and investment. They are levels ahead of what the United States is doing. I really hope they can set a good example like they are today, and I hope the US starts catching up, giving clarity, and then once there's clarity, we can begin innovating. The US was a top leader during the dot-com bubble because we had regulatory clarity, clear guidelines of what you could do and could not do. And right now, the UK, Japan, Singapore, Switzerland, all these other countries that have friendly clarity, or at least clear guidelines, not even necessarily friendly, are where companies are comfortable to go build and innovate. Now again, Visa, MasterCard both said in 2022 they want to onboard millions into NFTs. Millions of people coming into the crypto market. And what do we have today? In 2021, there were 300 million people in crypto. I think that was towards the beginning. I think we're closer to 1 billion crypto users today, or at least people that hold cryptocurrency. I already saw another statistic showing that there's going to be approximately 5 billion people using crypto assets in the future. And that is people. We're not even considering Internet of Things, IoT devices, smart cars, you name it. So it gets powerful. Before going over the crypto price charts, I wanted to read this amazing tweet shared by Beyond Broke. Now listen up. Every billionaire went all in on one vehicle to create their wealth, and then they diversified to hedge risk and continue to grow it slowly. You should only have to get rich once, but becoming wealthy and maintaining wealth are two different strategies. It is amazing to get rich in crypto in just a few years, but keep in mind, maintaining that wealth is an entirely different challenge. Also note that Ripple the company committed 1 billion XRP to the XRP Ledger Grants program. Key benefits to using the XRP Ledger for NFT creation or any other scalable blockchain network. I'm excited for NFTs on Casper, of course HBAR, and basically they all really check off all these boxes in terms of speed, low cost, sustainability, simplicity, so minting, burning, trading, requiring royalties, and more. Now this thing, remember I just said Visa and MasterCard getting into NFTs, onboarding millions of users. They see the money. They want royalties. This is going to make a lot of companies money as well. And the idea is cutting out a lot of these middlemen. All right, now I want to get into some Casper information along with Algo, another one of my favorite holds. Now listen up to this, and then we're going to go over the crypto charts toward the end of this one. It might be a long video, but there's a bunch of info to get through. So Casper and Algorand, two layer 1 protocols working together? Well, it seems like it per their code base. So both are backed by BitGo, a massive custodian, over $30 billion assets under management. BitGo also built the enterprise wallets for XRP back in the day. I think 2017, you can find it with a Google search. And again, Nexo, another lending platform that I leverage to just earn yield on my assets when I'm holding, is they're working on algo listing, or they're working on an algo listing as well, as they confirmed on a tweet on Twitter. So Nexo is also backed by BitGo. Maybe Casper gets listed on Nexo someday, and I would assume so. They've been listing dozens of assets. So first things first, BitGo and Casper to build a secure custody solution for the Casper network. Casper is one of the most fundamentally strong assets that I've ever seen. And yes, guys, oh man, the price hasn't done anything. It's only gone down. It is 1 year old. We can go through any crypto chart and measure the time frame or the date range of assets in accumulation or really just ranging sideways for hundreds of days. There's some assets that range for 500 days, 300 days, or even longer, and then they go into expansion. When I find a fundamentally strong asset like Casper, if I see it below a variety of fib retracements on a variety of time frames, I am accumulating this bad boy. And again, don't buy anything I talk about unless you truly understand it, research it, sit on it for a few weeks, understand the risks, the reward. And this is something that I'm willing to hold for the next 3 to 5 years. If you cannot do that and you want instant overnight gains, don't go into crypto. Now, BitGo delivers the first multi-signature custody and wallets for Algorand as well, back in 2019. Algo, backed by MIT. I've heard Gary Gensler speak highly of Algo because he's buddies with the founder, Silvio Micheli, who founded Zero Knowledge Proof. So Algo is arguably a carbon-negative blockchain. That's how efficient it is. They're already working with central bank digital currency integrations with the Marshall Islands. I think that was like, 2019? That's when I was first buying it, when it was first listed on Binance US at like 15 to 20 cents. Now, Nexo uses BitGo, okay, along with their API for custody, settlement, staking, cold wallets, etc. And then, right in the GitHub of Casper, we can see there's a Casper atomic swap with Algorand being built. This was last updated back in October. Now, friendly reminder, Casper will be listed on Gemini at some point. It's not a question of if, it's just a question of when, because Gemini always writes these articles about assets before they list them in the future, even if it's months away. They did the same thing with API 3. So the Casper network, a dev-friendly, a developer-friendly enterprise blockchain. A few bullet points, really quick to give you a better understanding. And I did tweet this if you guys want to read more about it. Highly recommend understanding what Casper is a layer 1 proof-of-stake blockchain network that is solving the blockchain trilemma in regards to security, scalability, and speed. So, upgradable smart contracts, so important. Very few projects actually have this today that already have a high level of adoption, which is a problem. There are many underdogs that may have this feature coming, which is amazing and so important. I like blockchains that are hybrid, such as XDC, because there's public and private features, which is crucial for the future. Developer-friendly features, we can see, speaking in Rust, we have Solidity and supports building in WebAssembly, WASM. So frequently used coding languages among mainstream developers today. So by opening the door to all these millions of Web 2 developers, there can be more building for Web 3. This is a huge kind of hurdle that we have to overcome in the crypto space. We have to get all these Web 2 developers comfortable, and that's why Casper's building all these SDKs to teach them and give them the tools to develop. This is going to be huge. I know that we saw Algorand with, 10,000 developers with Algorand at one point? That's more than the company Facebook. Lower gas costs significantly. I've sent huge amounts of Casper and it costs me pennies. Weighted keys. Many enterprise blockchains only allow binary, on and off, smart contract access permission for users, which can make it difficult for larger teams to effectively work together and then manage these complex applications and systems. Casper's network has weighted key features, allowing enterprises to establish more granular, multi-level system access permissions, which can make it easier to ensure the security and quality of the organization's assets. So how did I find out about Casper? How long have I known about Casper? Well, first off, I've known about the CBC specification from Ethereum for a long time. They've been going since 2018, believe it or not. My good buddy was trying to get into the Casper presale last March, so over a year ago. He was unable to. I did not get in the presale. I wish I was. And no, I'm not paid by any specific crypto projects to talk about these assets. Casper is not paying me to talk about Casper. I'm simply holding this asset because I've seen a lot of good information, and I've seen DAG go from sub pennies to, of course, 46 cents. I've seen HBAR go from a penny to over 50 cents. I've ridden Quant at, a couple dollars all the way over to $400. I've just seen this before. And so I'm really accumulating and holding Casper at these levels because I think it's going to be a future L1 that's really going to shine some light for enterprise adoption. Another great channel is Wealth Code. So great guys right here talking about Casper, and this was back in May. Now, I do want to play this video shared by Rekt Vojak of Casper. Now listen to the CEO of Casper discussing this network.
CSPR acts similarly to the network tokens of other proof-of-stake blockchains. It rewards validators for their efforts in securing the network, pays for computation of transactions through stable gas fees, and serves as a medium of exchange between network participants. Cardinal Cryptography has partnered with us in the specification of our consensus protocol, and Trail of Bits has audited the core technical components of the network. One recently announced partner building on Casper is IPWE, a global patent management and licensing database. IPWE is using Casper to encrypt patents to ensure access to private information can only be done by verified entities.
So again, they are actually encrypting this patent information. They are tokenizing this patent information on Casper's blockchain, and the metadata is stored on Casper's blockchain. This company in this project is not playing around for the future.
Casper Network takes one of the most original and complete blockchain architectures and brings it to life. Businesses, developers, and everyday users won't have to compromise which blockchain features they value most. With Casper, a sustainable blockchain-enabled future is here. Come build with us.
Now the next clip I want to play, just 20 seconds long, then we'll keep moving and I'll talk about the charts finally, is right here. This is the CTO. I believe her name is Meta, but it's M-E-D-H-A, but it sounds super cool, almost like Meta. So check this out. Again, this is shared by Rect, Vojak, a must follow. And keep in mind that Casper has ongoing NDAs with a variety of Fortune 500 companies for asset tracking and all types of features. So let's listen to the CTO of Casper really quick.
Casper is also upgradable. Today, implementing upgrades to on-chain applications is cumbersome both from a technical and governance perspective. Casper enables on-chain smart contracts to be directly upgraded, removing the need for complex ecosystem communication and migration processes.
Okay, and one other thing is Constellation Network, so congratulations to the DAG community. Check this out. We have available in the App Store now, the Stargazer wallet. I love this app. This is where I store my DAG for anybody curious, and now it's available in the App Store. I typically just use the Chrome extension, but when I'm sending DAG, it is legitimately feeless. I'm not paying $50 or $200 in Ethereum gas fees. This is a game changer. One of the few companies that is working with Space Isaac, and of course the Department of Defense. And I love DAG. I continue to operate some nodes, which is the soft node staking for now, before mainnet 2.0 comes. I've been covering this baby for over a year since it was under 2 pennies. So let's talk about the HBAR price chart really quick. For a lot of people that are uncertain, just by holding, if an asset goes sideways or it's just stuck in this range for a while, I see a lot of people getting nervous. For me, I just focus on what is being developed, focusing on the future, and simply waiting and accumulating if the asset goes below my 236 range, or maybe even lower timeframes to be even more conservative. So we can see from this previous level, this high all the way until we really broke out and created a new high, not considering that wick, we were in this range for 330 days. Now, compared to this high, we've been going for quite some time. We've been going for almost 400 days, so we have to be close. Yes, I believe this year will be the big move for Hedera. Notice that we did in fact close this wick in previous levels in the past. We can see, of course, the Fibonacci retracement from the high to the low of the previous level, taking off the 236, reaching the 4.236, of course, closing this previous wick that people never thought HBAR would get to, and of course it did, hundreds of days later, and then even hitting, right here, the 8 Fibonacci extension. Now notice, I have the 13, the 21, the 34, and 55. Yes, I believe that HBAR does, in the future, go to several dollars, maybe even double digits at some point. And most of these fib levels of several dollars in the future will get taken out. It's just a question of when. And I'm willing to hold it, and I will be staking my HBAR. Right here, just drawing another Fibonacci retracement from this high to the low, we can see that we hit the 127, came back down, and we are just riding that 236 Fibonacci retracement at 21 cents. I always like looking at fractals in different setups, and of course, an ascending channel. Now we have HBAR on the left-hand side, and we have XLM on the right. Now notice, they're both around 21 cents, 20 cents. They usually do a little dance, and I know this may seem funny, but this is what I track, and I track API3, Kava, and Curve. Now these assets, when one is at $6 or $7, the other one is at $2, then sometimes they're all at $5 even. Now right now, the dance is that Curve kind of fell, but I do believe it recovers. We have API3 and Kava around that 460, 470 range. They sometimes are both at 550. It all depends. And I'm watching all these assets do a dance. And my bet is that in the months ahead, that Curve will eventually get back up to the $4 or $5 range because of course these two are. Now, Curve has some crazy high wicks, so could this DEX win the Curve wars? A lot of variables, but definitely interesting to see that Curve was all the way up to $23. Of course, Kava has climbed nicely over the past few years, all the way down from really, I'd say, 25 cents. So it's reached almost $10 as the high. Now API3, its previous all-time high was $10.40, did a big crash during, of course, the summer bottom for Bitcoin, and then of course recovered, and actually did a 3x recently, going all the way up, challenging about $9.40. And then, of course, another crash. So it's still just in this accumulation range, sitting above and breaking out of this symmetrical triangle that I've drawn and shown many times. I'm just twiddling my thumbs and waiting for this bad boy. If there's nothing fundamentally wrong with the structure, I'm not worried. I know, people will look at this and be like, oh man, from this high, it's been here for so long. Well, I've compared it to a variety of assets I'm watching and other, Oracle competitors like Link. It did this range for 500 days. So API3 just over 1 year, I think it looks fine. So now looking at HBAR and XLM, of course, looking at these other fractals, we have this accumulation zone, boom, exploding. We have this accumulation zone of XLM, way back to 2014, and then again exploding. We can see, this structure, and you can almost make it match and just imagine on different time frames and be like, wow, like this whole accumulation zone was this. You have this matching that. You have, another cup formed. Okay, we have another cup formed. Potentially a handle setup, cup and handle setup, and I know it's sloppy, but could we get that move to the upside in the future as we're falling in this kind of descending channel or falling wedge? And that's my personal opinion with these assets is long-term. XLM, HBAR, Algo, all these ISO tokens specifically are going to do very well. I do the same thing with Casper, comparing fractals of Ethereum, HBAR, Matic, DAG, Telcoin, you name it. And I'm just doing my best to kind of gauge and say, is there something fundamentally wrong with the structure? No, not at all. What are we seeing with Casper? We're seeing them onboarding new users. I'm seeing the circulating supply increasing just like every other asset, so let's get it over with. We're going to see more exchange listings. So HBAR, in fact, cleared this wick. And no, I'm not necessarily saying Casper, clears those $30 or $60 wicks, but do I like seeing those high prices? Absolutely. So again, looking at the structure, we can see this U-shape for HBAR. We have this U-shape again. You can see this accumulation zone. You see this accumulation zone. It looks pretty similar. Now, it's not going to be the same. And as you guys know, I read this fractal wrong for HBAR and Casper in the past. So you see this accumulation zone? I mean, right here now, it still looks very, very similar. So I like the look of it. But I personally actually thought, let me pull up my brush really quick. And this is what I thought. I actually read it wrong. So like when Casper was right here, I thought we were ready to start climbing and explode. But does that change my future expectations for Casper? Not at all. We can go through a variety of assets. We can compare this high. How long were we in this range before exploding? 300, maybe 330 days. Okay, well, what about Casper from that high? How long have we been in this range? Is there something fundamentally wrong with the chart? No, been here for about 242 days. Okay. So right here, we have Ethereum. We can compare its fractals, some of its big sell-offs to what Casper is doing the past year. Does anything look wrong with the structure? No, not at all. It looks like we're just getting started, a young asset, developing liquidity. Let's pull up some other assets. We can see Matic was here for quite some time. Let's see, from this high all the way until we broke out and created a new high. 600 days. Absolutely crazy. Of course, we have this shape. I mean, you could argue we have a double top right here. We have a double top right here, coming back down. Again, very similar. Matic, nobody talked about it when it was 1 to 2 pennies. Actually, one guy was always DMing me about it. And I really should have bought some Matic because I think he did really well. I remember he was telling me it was going to absolutely explode. I wasn't paying too much attention to this dominant layer 2 scaling solution. But hey, live and learn. And I mean, even from, takeoff or down here, Matic from that low did about a 239x. So over a 200x. Crazy. So is it that outlandish to see 10x possibility with Casper? No. In the medium term, absolutely not. Same thing with Telcoin. We had a gap that was in fact closed at these levels last year in February. We can see that we had this huge distribution, huge sell-off, came back, ranged a little bit, and then finally took off. Does it look a little similar to Casper? Will Casper's chart be unique? Absolutely. They're different assets, different token supplies, different tokenomics, different amounts of volume, different launch times. There's a lot of variables, but I'm watching and giving you examples of assets. Huge sell-off. People called Tel a scam when it was down 99%. And then even from, and we can go from this high, it was in this range for over 500 days. And then after that, after 500 days of ranging like that, it did over a 400, almost a 500x return. You don't hear people calling it a scam now. So those that paid attention and accumulated at these low levels and could hold for the future, they did well. So just wanted to show you some of those structures. Of course, we have this wick up here that was in fact closed for Tel. So very cool. So if you guys want to stake your Casper on chain, we can see 11% APY. Now, some people say, oh man, but my project does 50% APY. Well, I like finding an asset that gives you 11% when the asset is almost close to its all-time low price, and you're seeing every other asset historically do a 50 or 100x return in the years ahead. So I want to accumulate as much as possible at these levels. Below 10 cents, I'm in. Of course, you can find a validator to delegate to. I saw King Solomon choose the Alliance Block validator to support their ecosystem. Makes you wonder, why is Alliance Block running a validator on Casper? Future partnership? Yes. So when choosing a validator, I want to look for something with obviously low fees. So, 5 or 3% would be ideal. We want to look for good network uptime, 100%. I'm not going to go with anything that's under that. We want to see a decent amount staked. I want to see, belief in their validator. I want to see adoption of it. So I know Ghost Staking is a popular one. Even 5% with forced staking is solid to me. Scroll down and then boom, we have the Alliance Block Validator, ALBT. You guys are fans, pay attention. So we see that Casper is involved with Alliance Block, Algorand? What's going on behind the scenes? But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. So CSPR.live, you can stake your Casper with Casper Signer, which is a Google Chrome extension. And please be safe when you're doing this. Make sure that you store your private keys correctly and back them up. Let's keep an eye on HBAR's NFT space as well. We have XRPL trending on Twitter, and I'm going to be watching Michael Jordan in the future launch his NFTs on the platform. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember, all links can be found in the video description, and until next time.